Hello, everyone. I just got out of the shower and I was thinking about online dating, and I realized that in the almost a year that I've spent online dating, I've definitely learned a lot. And I think I have some helpful advice that could be potentially helpful to you if you're online dating now or interested in starting to date online, or even if you're just curious about it or like thought about it but haven't actually done it yet. I have some tips and I think they're going to be helpful. So I'm just going to get right into this video and just say if you have any online dating tips, please feel free to leave them in the comments below and let's get started. All right, so my first tip is to find a website that works for you. I would recommend going paid if you can. The only problem is that the paid sites are usually about $20 to $30 a month on the cheap end. So it can get really expensive really quickly. I personally have not done a paid site yet. I'm kind of thinking about doing it simply because I've been on OkCupid for almost a year and I haven't really been successful. And to be honest, there's a lot of trolls on OkCupid. So think about what you want. Like with a free site, there are going to be more trolls out there. There are going to be more people just looking for casual sex. And if you're looking for that, that's totally fine. And I would say in that case, use a free site. But if you're looking to actually date people, it's a little more challenging sometimes. And I would also think about, like, do you want to date people close to you? Or are you open to long distance relationships? And OkCupid's nice because you can kind of do both and manipulate it a little bit. But I would think about all of that stuff. Also, what your budget is. Like for me, at $20 to $30 a month, that is pretty expensive. It's a couple $100 a year. Definitely would take a hit to my savings. So it's not really so worth it, I don't think. But at the same time, um, there's a lot less trolls, obviously, because trolls are just going to go to the free sites, not pay a bunch of money. Um, so I think in that sense, it can be a little more worth it. And you also get, I think, a lot more features and stuff. So I would just think about that. Find a site that works for you. Look at some of them, like Plenty of Fish. That's better if you're wanting to date close to people. There are a ton of trolls there, though. OkCupid, that's what I use. I found that's the best free website that exists out there, with the least amount of trolls. But I mean, there definitely are still a lot, so just keep that in mind. Um, and those are the two big free sites. There's a lot of smaller ones though, and you can definitely check those out. I guess the only problem is your dating pool kind of shrinks when you do that. So that's my first tip. And the next thing I would say is definitely fill out your profile and actually take the time to fill it out. Don't just write like one line into each section and call it a day, because your profile is what is probably going to get people to message you. If your profile is not really filled out, or you don't really have any like information about you, people aren't probably going to be intrigued. You want to put some kind of representation of who you are, what you're looking for, on your profile. You want to sound interesting, and you definitely want to talk about yourself. So actually take some time to fill it out. That's probably going to be your biggest commodity on an online dating site. And if you don't really have if you don't really have your profile filled out, it can come back to hurt you because, like I said, probably not a lot of people will message you. So yeah. My third tip is to create boundaries, and I say boundaries. I mean more like ground rules, but they can work as boundaries as well. Mine definitely formed over time after having experiences with the site. So let me just explain kind of like what some of mine are. So one of the things that is one of my ground rules or boundaries is that I only talk to people that are 90% compatible with me or higher. And that's actually something I've done within the last couple months. And the reason is because I just haven't really found much success with people that are lower than 90%. 90% definitely, you're probably going to have some type of chemistry or connection, similar interests. I think it pays off. Because lower compatibility, and I understand, and this is kind of for OkCupid, but like I said, this is my ground rules. So Depending on the website, yours might have to be different. The compatibility score, like on OkCupid, it is just a number, and I can see the people saying like, "Oh, this is a formula. Does it really matter?" But it can, just because a lot of it's based on like how similar you are. Like, are your values, do they line up? Are you looking for similar things in dating? And the site, I think, does a pretty good job of that in my experience of matching people. And it's not perfect, but I think you're going to have a lot better success in the 90% match or a higher versus like a 60% match. And like I said, I've gone that route before, and it's usually kind of a waste of time. So I would say to stick to 90%. Well, that would be my advice, but that's something that I do. Okay, so like another boundary I have is that you have to have a profile picture that's of you. And that came from an experience. So that's something, if your profile picture is not of you, or there's not one, I will not talk to you, I will not message you. Another boundary that I have is that if we're going to meet in person, I have to talk to you on the phone first. I don't meet people that I haven't talked to on the phone first. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I guess this is like a personal boundary that I have. I guess another one is that I only talk to people who live in the United States. I don't talk to people who live internationally, because I don't know how I would ever date someone international. I'm willing to do long distance, but not that long distance. And so a lot of these boundaries are about kind of creating an intention and kind of like knowing what you want and putting that into practice. So I really would advise you to do that, and have some boundaries and create some intentions. It doesn't have to be right away. A lot of it will come through experience, because you'll kind of learn like through like errors and even successes what works and what doesn't. All right, so my fourth tip is to always be thorough. Don't be afraid to Google someone, investigate them, etc., etc., etc. Be thorough. Like, do it, because you don't want to date somebody who's a troll or who's lying about who they are. Unfortunately, a lot of people do that. Not the majority, nowhere close, but there are people that do. And a lot of people will lurk on dating sites, So here are some warning signs that I have personally come across. A lot of times I think you gotta get a gut instinct. I would say listen to that gut instinct. It's going to be right more times than it's wrong. And there's actually scientific evidence to prove that. So, and in my experience too, my gut instinct has usually been right, and I wish I listened to it more. So listen to it. Do not neglect your gut feeling. So some of the warning signs: no profile picture or pictures not of themselves, and I said that was one of my boundaries. I had a situation where they had a profile picture of like a monkey, and then they did send me pictures. But they were posted on like some kind of like Flickr type website, like a photo sharing website. They weren't sent to me like through his computer or anything. And they were taken down very shortly after we talked. So I was like, that's a little weird. And when I met them in real life, they looked nothing like their pictures. Nothing. I don't even think the pictures were of them, actually. Or if they were from a long time ago. Because I didn't even recognize them. They looked nothing like their pictures. And so, and I would say too, do not lie about what you look like. Use current pictures. I'd say your picture should be a year old or earlier. Don't use something that doesn't look like you, because the person's probably going to find out what you actually look like and be more pissed off that you weren't honest versus like seeing what you actually look like. Okay, so another warning sign is like having little on their profile. This is why I also say fill out your profile. Because if you have like 2 lines on your whole profile, it's probably someone looking like to get laid or something like that, or is like shady. And because if it doesn't look like you're invested into your profile, it looks like you don't actually care, and then it's like, so why are they on this site, So I would say that's a warning sign. Make themselves overly available. And I guess what I mean by that is like wanting to meet you very early on, especially if you live a little far away from each other. Or like really seems to like be just a little bit too over enthusiastic, you know, is asking for like sexy pictures. You know, there's this like certain thing when they just seem like a little bit like going too fast. I would say it's definitely a warning sign. Also, if you've been talking for a while and they won't give you like their Facebook or another means to contact and communicate with them, warning sign. I would say, you know, like I said, I always talk to people on the phone before I meet them. And usually I want to have their Facebook and everything too. You know, because you want to make sure they're legit. And you want to make sure that Facebook profile is not fake either. And there's, you know, a lot of ways to do that. So I would just say look out for those warning signs when you see them. Be very skeptical. But my final tip is to be honest. Do not lie about yourself. Do not lie about what you look like. Do not lie about your intentions. It will backfire. It will backfire because people will eventually find out you're lying, and then you might ruin something that could have been really great otherwise. You know, like I said with the pictures thing. Also, even with your intentions, like if you just want to find someone to have casual sex with, for example, say that on your profile. Like, don't like, you know, not make that obvious and then end up like trying to appease someone and then just to get in their pants. Yeah, that makes you an asshole. Don't do that. Talk, like, say what you really want, and then you can find someone who wants that too. You know, don't lie about yourself. Like, be 100% honest. Doesn't mean you have to give out all your personal information. Just don't lie about anything. And you should be good to go. Those are kind of my like top 5 rules. There's certainly a lot more though, and I want to make a separate video actually about meeting somebody in real life off the internet. Like, as in, like, you know, you meet on a dating site and then you're gonna go on an actual date in person, because there's definitely, it's not as clear cut as you would think. It can definitely be awkward and stuff. So that's gonna be like the next video. So I will see you there.